Okay, a little break passed. I was looking at that like wave breaker, and since we changed direction, it could be better lit and adding more distance from where we're standing to it. So I'll take a flat brush, I think like this. Round should be okay, but flat I think may work better to apply even paint. I still have plenty of dark spots here. Just give me a second. I'll clean it up. Too much of a dark paint. Voila, it's clean now. And new set of brushes would be a pretty good idea. So let me do what I was planning to do. I was planning to work on that wave breaker. I'm not saying that the wave, I mean the sorry, I'm tired already. I'm standing recording this for you. Sorry. It may have some edges which are sharp enough, but nothing should be dark in that distance. Otherwise we're losing feeling of air perspective. When it goes away from us, it can get even more and more subtle. Not sure if I got it right because I'm looking under a special angle. I cannot look perpendicularly at my canvas because that's where my camera is standing to give you best view for you. Even though it seems to be straight, let's break it. It's made of rocks, and you can see here these rocks are separate, and when they're even lit from one side, they're still like not even. So let me kind of put some of separation between them. Something like this. This may look better. Again, you can put some liner, not liner, a ruler, and check if this line is straight or not. And again, does it go horizontally or not? All right, looks good. Water or sky? I will do sky first. That's general rule. First object, then it's a reflection. Okay, I will go with like maybe number 2 flat brush. Shall I go with pink or with my purples? I think I'll go with purples because I need to shift that value down from what we have here. So plenty of titanium white now, we should not afraid. And our ultramarine, which is okay, maybe not super decent, but feels all right. It looks so blue on your screens, wow. And a small amount of something which will make it pink, and I have no other choice than using this paint. On palette it looks good enough, so let's see how that looks here. I think it still looks good here as well. Some areas here slightly darker, lighter. No big difference, but even those little shifts can create feeling that it's a real image. Yes, I see now where I were not accurate with my line. This line's supposed to go slightly down because I had those distractors with those brush strokes above. Now I made it flat. I see. All right. when you're doing study, you would probably not worry much about that. You should rather worry about light and color. All right, so next band we have there, it's more of orange. Again, we're trying not just to mix into this mix what we have already, but adding it from something which mixed next to it separately, and then we can really connect them. Okay, that works better, believe me. Tested many times, and you will keep forgetting that, but at one point when you see how it works, you will be doing it with no reminders. Again, on your screens, most likely purple looks purple, but I think it looks pretty close to a reference image. Now you see our sail doesn't look that shiny anymore. Okay, trying now to put less brush strokes because we are applying a layer of paint. And if we want now, I'm wiping my brush, and then you can soften that transition, leaving some imperfections. In fact, that doesn't have to be perfect. And even can soften that line. So I think we now, again, better pigments from the professional line of paints would help us to create nicer those pink areas. And I'll try to go it without much mixing. Oh, this is crazily pink. But when I compare it to what we have in there, in our reference, that's not too far from what we have there. And again, so that design, I really don't like it the way as it looks there. So I'll go with orange, and then on top of that we'll add pink. I like that wing going up. So going with paint thick enough. Not totally mixing those two paints. Keep them like in some areas without mixing. And the bottom, I do not know, shall I go with pink or with orange? Probably with a pink because that's closer to purple. Now we can soften it. Looks too violet. Then adding white with small amount of blue can make it less saturated. Actually, orange is killing that pink as well pretty nicely. We can correct that along the way if we feel it's too much again. Towards the end of painting, we should see colors better. So right in the beginning I thought, you know, that color or that value specifically will look different in the second stage or next stages of painting. Now we're painting without planning of doing any significant changes. There are some darker clouds as well, right? Trying not to make it all like cotton ball, super soft. Don't want it. So if we have there any extra clouds, that's actually a big help for us. And here we have less of sunlit clouds on this side, some darker ones. I want to also do some correction. I'll take probably a smaller brush next. Let's finish with this turquoise sky. How about the value? I think it's pretty close and accurate. Sky doesn't look like even here. Sky, which is open sky, has pretty well and evenly distributed color. Supposed to. If on painting it doesn't look like that, need to pay attention to that and correct it. Looks like to the bottom it's blending. Let's say exactly. Let's make some darker clouds on this side. If you're not satisfied with this color, you always can do that as a second layer, but remember your sky will need to be repainted totally as a one block, because all these soft transitions you cannot really make them accurate when your previous layer dry. It changes the value slightly, but it's enough to make mistakes. So when you work on sky, quite often you need to repaint it again from beginning. Okay. What else could be there? Like a distractors, not distractors, some spots which could be dark. Of course, could be some birds flying, maybe a plane, which, yeah, why not? It could be a possibility. Shall I highlight some areas like this? Let's do it for now. Again, along the way we can see if it works or not. We may like that idea or not. It's too much of thinking process is going in our head. So definitely it's hard to think straight and answer questions immediately. But then after moving paint back and forth, if you are still focused, you'll find that design of clouds and softness of edges, everything that works well for your feeling, I should say feeling. That's the right word, how you feel this view. So kind of filtering constantly this idea of painting it. All right, so we need to give some contrast as well for our, so let's take smaller brush, for our sail. And for our surrounding, so sail is not bright anymore, but I would say that orange spot here still looks bright. So it gives me hope that we'll be able to achieve some brightness. Again, when it's too bright, as I see it now, it looks too close to me. Maybe those soft edges are actually not a bad idea. I just want to correct this little spot It's so important that you keep your paints on your palette without scraping them too early, scraping them off too early. So you see, there are some areas where you need to be quite accurate. It looks like it was done just like with 1-2 bold brush strokes. It may happen, but it may not happen. I'm not saying that you need to be afraid of everything you do, but if you're not sure that you will swing your brush and things will happen well, it's very likely you'll need to sit and then spend like half an hour correcting that mistake, spill of paint. Maybe you need to try to be like observe what are you doing there with this type of approach. And it's nice to have a support for your hand. All right, that looks good. So now let's work on this water here. And again, I remember we went by zones, kind of like a quiet water, then ripples, then again quiet water, more of a pink, and then ripples, then quiet water here. And in value, there is some difference, like in those lines. And then here, all this area, which is kind of vertically occupies a lot of space, goes in value down, and actually in color goes to less saturated colors. So what mixes will I need? I'll need basically the same mixes, but more of a turquoise color there, and to many parts it's lighter. There is really no zone which is that dark. It's present as a separate brush strokes here, and I'm not gonna work on them right now. So I'll take a brush, number 2 should be good enough, and let's add more of white, more of turquoise. You barely can see its presence. Could go with pink first, and for me it looks value-wise, it's still, color-wise, it's a little too dark. So now this looks slightly lighter. So the value precision is important here. We don't have to do that pink band. It will make it nicer. It's not gonna change a lot in perception of the water. It's not gonna make, if we don't do that, it will not make us like, oh, now something is wrong with the water. No, it will not. And towards the bottom, if we have here ripples, there is more of a purple present, and in fact we can do that a less uniform, can go with more of a blue, more of a purple, in fact it looks darker and even slightly warmer, kind of more towards the gray. And right here, what we applied first, it looks in value very close to what we want. We can leave some areas in between brush strokes open, exposing that greenish under painting, or the first layer of painting, because that will enhance feeling of those ripples. way too dark. It looks too dark, but it's not. Using medium, if we want to do those posts soon enough, our layer should be dry enough soon. I will do that without me. I'll show you in my finished painting on Instagram how it looked. All right, so we have some division. You see how this, even greenish, looks nice in between? If I have a clean brush, yes, I do have a cleaner brush, I want to extend this wing here. Just with peripheral vision, sometimes you start seeing what you need to do, and that's how our brain works. It kind of keeps, it's loaded, it's still sitting there and looking for a solution, and then when I start seeing it, because some part of my memory, my operating memory freed up, it tells me, you know, Zufar, here's the solution, do it. All right. So now, shall I do that pink zone in between? Yes, I'm taking like number 1 flat, and I'll take this mix. Value-wise, it's slightly lighter than this one. It could be way too pink. Yeah, not too bad. Try to treat it separately. You can always add some color into it. The roll works. Maybe going with slightly different color. More of a white. So even though direction is horizontal, but we can break that line. It could be too much at times, so we need to soften that transition. This spot looks, well, not just different colors, also looks lighter, darker. Similar thing here. We're adding their paint, not a lot, but definitely not, it's not a transparent layer. And at times it feels that I need more of a white on top, because that would be somehow related one to another. In the sky, working with a finger is a common practice. Don't think this landscape tells you that it should have anything very vigorous, strong attention to the sky. No, it's a nice setting for the entire painting. That's it. I think I need to go again around this sail with, like, accurately. So body of this boat is slightly shorter, and this dark thing is a reflection of the sail. And why not to make this end of this boat better visible, like this. So mixing a little bit of blue into that orange. We'll add some color variety. And I like color. Everything's good in that what's happening as a reflection here under the boat, except of the shape of it. This looks nice. I don't like that solid, though, space under. I'll break it like there are some people sitting there. For me, it looks, the water around this boat and behind is too blue. Still create that line. For those who, for whom this is a too long session, you can always watch it another day. Just go to my channel, because the link for a live webinar could be moved by YouTube, because the stream and final video which gets saved are not always in the same spot. So it's unpredictable where exactly it's going to be. At least I couldn't really figure out how to find it in advance. So you always can then go with a smaller brush and make this transition, that blue, to be broken with additional paint. Of course, there is also buoy on the water. What's bothering me here is, in fact, this thing. Should be some. We need to get rid of this dark line. There is no such a dark line on the edge of the sail. Okay, that's better. So mast boat without much of crazy significance, we still can give suggestion. Suggest it. So now it's actually, for some people it's a problem, but in fact this is a big joy going with thicker paint application. So your color really start, I mean, your brush strokes kind of like a sculpt the shape, as it was said in one of books, Russian books of painting. You kind of sculpt shape of your objects with brush strokes. A friend of mine, Vlad Duchev, he found that book for me, and that's pretty clearly reflects how they teach in foundation and fundamentals in Russian art schools. So shape need to be well understood to create, to be able to paint it, or obviously to draw it. All right, buoy. Shall we do it now? Okay, it's temptation to work on it, but I'm not going to. So now let's work on this zone, which is relatively flat, and we need to finish soon because this is our definitely a third hour of painting. Let's spend another maybe no more than 20 minutes. So what we have here on the bottom, we have a lot of kind of blue, but it's a little too small brush. Let's go with the number 2 brush. And we have here some leftovers. Let's use them. So this is our green and pink. Be nice to be for darker clouds here, which are pink. And now we can carve shape of these rocks if we have enough paint on our brush. If we have just very little, it's not going to work. So since it's study, it's time for experiments. Why won't you do the same thing as what I do? Why won't you try at least? And edges which are getting created this way are much more exciting than when you do it like from the positive space. Say when you paint a rock, you paint rock, and then when you carve its outline, when you paint something around it, that line of the rock, outline of the rock, gets more exciting. That's what I'm trying to say. And you know, water here is a greenish, so that could be also reflected in the paint. So in value, maybe I got it a little too dark, but with thicker paint application, we easily can make it slightly lighter. It's a thick, but not super thick layer of paint. And here we're moving towards some pink zone, and that's actually a problematic area, because if you will create that cloud like floating on surface, it's not gonna create a lot of cool and nice feeling. So we may want to organize our brush strokes kind of vertically here as well, but let's apply first paint. So we're kind of killing that orange. It's too intense. And now let's go darker. So you kind of defining the color and value on the go. It's really hard to plan it and say like, wow, I know what color is that going to be. For me, on my canvas, it looks more purplish. On your canvas, it looks way too blue. And if I add more of a purple for you, that magenta or rose, that may look the way as you may understand it better. So since let's switch back to our this reference, and in some areas there is more of a turquoise color, like in this part. I guess I need more of my medium. So you see, this simple enough landscape is not that simple, but I hope you learned things about rocks, how to paint this complex pile of rocks. Well, I cannot understand why it's so blue on your canvases, which is not that blue here at all. I think that's how camera works. And my size number, brush number 2, is way too small, I think. The same thing with the snow scene. This looked way too blue. But here, subtle, very subtle value. Let's say the diapason range. I just cannot make it slightly more blue, more darker. So let's warm it up with orange and with more of a white, so it may look more digestible on your canvases. In values, I got it very close to what we have above. And now I can really go and create vertical brush strokes. So that's how usually reflections before waves appear, how they're arranged. And then waves go horizontally or under some angle close to horizontal. But that's how it goes for still water. So a bigger brush may work better. Even something like a fan brush can help you first. So where transitions are very soft, mainly in this direction. So we're getting everything very close in value. There is no much drama in reflection, especially because we don't know exactly what's above this zone. So who knows what kind of clouds are there. And now with horizontal brush strokes, I'm again removing all that drama. This area looks too green, too blue on the screen. So I'll add more of a burnt umber. if you arrange your colors on your palette from kind of like going in some sort of gradient, you really can follow the gradient and grab exactly what you need. So this area should be lighter. It's much easier now, right, to see where's what supposed to be. Even though this area seems to be calm, there's always some creatures floating or some bouncing, or even like boat can give some waves, which cause, often there are several sources of waves and they create refraction. Very mild, but the water is not, this water is not a mirror. For me, I think we lack a little bit of pink in this area. That's how it feels to me. So I hope you're getting idea of sequence of layers, events, what I'm paying attention, what we're paying attention in different stages of our painting process. And if you can find your references, nice references, and start painting it, your approach will be based on what you learned, slightly different, and my goal is to make it more successful, right? So again, trying to chase shape here, which is trying to perfect it, and we don't need, right? We don't need to do that right away to be perfect. So what adds more life into our paintings? Those little details, as a reflection, as a little floating stuff. So feeling of the real waves. So let's say this boat, if I do those, let's say posts, that definitely will make it more interesting. If I do this little waves here, that makes things look more cool. Have a rock. If we get reflection, that start looking like a water, right? We cannot work with all colors at the same time. Kind of, it's not bad actually to apply this layer while it's wet, because when it's dry you can work more if you have time for that. Don't forget to work with a couple of colors. So I'm adding a small amount of green next to purples and browns, make them, those brush strokes of brown looks great, much better. This boat is sitting there. There are some rocks here. So it's like good amount of, like probably another hour would be nice to sit and correct these things, improve lines. And it's not a bad idea to do that while your paint is still wet, because values have not been shifted. Those shifts which happen with drying, they occur. It's not acrylics, but it still could be a problem, especially for the sky area. And if you have time to sit longer, and you can do those posts as well. You've had a support. Let me do a few posts that definitely will add more character. No, not only posts, this floating seaweed, right? And even though I took as a base color something like green, olive green, try to make these brush strokes separate, try to create nice grouping of them. Maybe you still want to do one of those rocks like this one here. Just need to find good place for it. Like this one. The paint here is thick enough. So again, if you are kind of like you don't really understand and feel how to apply them, where to apply them, the best advice I can give you, just grab a sketchbook, or you can take a picture of your study, print it black and white, and then draw, work more on design. And sometimes like dragging it with a dry brush can help. Then like this may work. Sometimes you can improve your painting. Sometimes you think, wow, what did I do? Let's wipe this off. When you work over dry surface, wiping off, it can be easier. You took a little bit of solvent and it's pretty much gone. On wet canvas, it could be less forgiving. But again, excitement of painting it as a fresh feeling of a painting, that's that's very special. So these posts quite often kind of greenish, but I will do underpainting for them, kind of purple first. Don't make them too dark right from the beginning. Try to be as accurate as possible. Like, think of it, be thoughtful. It's a purplish, but it's kind of gray. It's not that dark, because these are distant objects, and I can first barely touch surface to see how it feels. It feels all right. And the second one, and then can drag it slightly more. We have here a variety of blues and purples, right? And if you're not feeling confident at this time, do it once your canvas is dry. Tomorrow, put it into the sun, light, and all right, so now these posts are pretty much in the same distance. So this and this, usually same level. There could be extra posts here. all this little detail looks like not much time compared to what we had to spend doing sky or water. Kind of make it look recognizable like so quickly. And after purple, you can apply your greens with as interrupted lines. And of course, on the bottom, those posts have a seaweed growing. Even some areas may look pinkish because of the sunlight, whatever the reason could be. And then, of course, adding reflection can make water looks more real. Again, it's pretty thick paint application at this time for this area. This reflection is going to be a little bit longer than the object itself because of the waves and a little, as we call, undulation, movement around the axis, but still staying along. Yes, I think it's really was a good idea to do that for you, so you could get more excited about what you see here. Oh, look, like this poster actually sitting right in front of the boat. And those shorter ones, they belong to the mooring. I mean, to the boardwalk. All right. You see a little detail, and it looks already kind of more recognizable, but up to this moment, what are we doing? So it's probably still tons of time to work on it. It's a development of the painting until it looks good. It's not even. So those all little details, if you know how to do it, will definitely improve the way as people can say like, oh, this is close to be finished. And quite often we don't even realize that we are close to a finished painting. Still feels that all this area needs more of something, and reflection is not enough. Definitely some little waves added here can be done, and more of a seaweed on the surface can also add more feeling of this water, as it's usually in coves like this. All right. Could be maybe some animals or some birds in that area showing up as well. Those little things, like almost like on pattern, perception of pattern can be helpful. I like alternation of areas with ripples and area without ripples, because that gives a feeling of the horizontal surface. Doesn't look like fence, like a wall, which easily happens, especially if your waves of ripples or like are the same. There is no any hints of the perspective. So if I add here some lines, and of course that should be of a couple of colors, so you need to go with one more layer of more of turquoise or more of a pink. That will help. crossing reflection is a big time important thing as well. Breaking it or changing its shape. Sometimes objects need to be connected. Like here, if there's a rock, maybe there is a little connection here. Edge is soft enough. And of course, I have here some little effect as of this post touching some line. We can really, if we see something like that, even though in reference, that's very close to that, may want to get rid of it. Overlapping is usually perceived better. Yes, so I think for now we can wrap up. Definitely some touch-ups are needed. I hope you learned a lot. And that's the end of today's session.